Okay, so I'm so sorry you guys about all the tech, but let's just dig in and hopefully if you're on the Hot Mess team and you're on here, I would rather you be in the group trying to get our link out and getting people on here with us. If you can do that, or unless you can do both at the same time. But otherwise, we're just gonna dig in and then we'll have this recorded and we'll share it with everybody after and it'll all be okay. Um okay. Okay, so I first want to start off with who we are, who's running this all about investing. So we have Jane and Nadia here. We have all been like friends in the industry. We go way back. Nadia actually, we met in the Female Entrepreneur Association. I don't know if any of you guys are in there. They're
Yeah.
not boutique owner specific. There are other boutique owners in there for sure. And so we met when both of us, I mean, she had been doing she started as a boutique owner as well, selling shoes specifically that she manufactured on her own. And she started her own business utilizing Facebook ads specifically. Like she didn't have a Facebook group. She didn't do like a ton of elbow grease on the organic marketing side. Not that she didn't do organic marketing, but her main focus growing her business from scratch was Facebook ads from the beginning. And so that's how she got started in Facebook ads. And then she started helping other people. Jane, as we know, super freaking successful, like so humble. Like I'm so glad that she's here with us today. Like multi-million-dollar business prior to then to help other boutique owners with their email and text marketing specifically. So really great gals that we have on here today again. So Nadia focuses on Facebook ads, Jane on Klaviyo and PostScript and email text marketing. Both of them might even have some new offerings that I don't even know about, and we'll cover that at some point as well. And then of course, I'm Angela with Hot Mess, and we focus on the branding and website optimization. So before we kind of jump into the topic for today, just wanted to give Nadia and Jane a chance to hop in with a quick intro of their own as well. So Jane, if you want to go first.
Okay. So first, I want to touch real quick on the fact that Angela brought up the fact that, and probably will say the fact for like 15 more times during this. It's just a fact. But that Nadia, Angela, and myself all have inventory-based experience. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But I think that's one of the things that I would say the three of us have always been very steadfast. And I think that's how we end up in the same group is like we all understand specifically what you all are going through in a way that I think it's really hard to, it's kind of like when you bring on like a new manager, a new employee, if they've never worked in an industry or an inventory-based business, it's hard to kind of, I think, portray to them the, like how important that is, right? The aging of it. So I just want to start out with that like, if there is any group to listen to, I think this is great. I love this. So I am Jane Casper. I own Glow Group, and we pretty much just specialize in retention marketing. So anything that has to do with text or email. We don't do social media. We don't do web design. I leave that up to both of these ladies, and I do not touch it at all. Even when it comes to like our own website, Angela gets a lot. Actually, it's not even Angela, it's Carla, because I'm too embarrassed to tell Angela.
Oh gosh.
I'm sure in their chat, Carla's like, so she messaged me again.
No,
but so we mostly just do retention marketing. And I would say 97% of the businesses that we work with are boutiques or fashion-based companies. We do a fair amount of wholesale as well. And then we do dabble in some random, like my background is also slaughterhouses. So we have some meat companies. But I'm super excited about this, and I know Nadia has some really cool things coming down the pike with Facebook, so I'm thrilled to be here, even just to listen, and I'm honored to be able to participate.
Thank you. Nadia.
So my turn. I'm Nadia Martinez. I'm not as active in the boutique hub as much as I would like to, like I used to. I have two daughters that keep me on my toes, high school age and middle school age, so I'm online when I can, but I do Facebook advertising, and I've been doing this close to 10 years now. everything has changed a lot. So you name it. I started with that business manager version of things to where it is right now, to a point that, not to brag, I do want to say that, but a lot of the times I'm able to predict a lot of the behavior that I see in the algorithm. So because of that, I've developed a really cool relationship with Facebook. And tomorrow I actually get to go to Facebook Austin to discuss some of my findings, and then how it can improve the system for small business owners. Everything that I do is paid advertising, Facebook, and now TikTok ads as well, which I was very hesitant to jump on it, but times are changing, things are changing, so I had to adapt and be more open to it. So my main focus is to help my clients find new customers through Facebook advertising, but then also retarget the existing audiences they already have. So I dream, I eat, I sleep on Facebook ads. I find solutions to problems when I'm asleep. It really has taken over my brain, but I love what it does for small businesses. And as Jane said, I mean, we have the experience of inventory. And from my perspective, I started the brand from the ground up as well. So from procurement, from shipping, from you name it. And I like to incorporate those things when I'm supporting my clients, because a lot of the times people might think they're ready to do Facebook ads, but that's the last thing they should be doing, right? So that's why I try to keep my mind open about, I can say yes to one more client, but in reality, that's not going to be the right way to go about growing a business. And I try to be as open as I can with them about it. But essentially, that's what I do: paid advertising.
So today, us three have come together to basically talk about investing in your business, just all the who, what, where, when, how, when not to do it, like when are you ready, when are you not ready, what to look for in your expert, all of that kind of stuff. And from what we've said, I hope you can gather that we all have experience, not only on your side of the street from the boutique owner perspective but also like what we see in our most successful clients and just in the industry at large. So we're going to be able to speak to all of that. So I'm kind of going to do this a little bit of Q&A style. I'll start with the question, and then Jane or Nadia, whoever feels the most burning desire, I guess, like you can start answering, and feel free to leave one if you don't want to address that question, but otherwise we'll just let's just chat basically. And let's leave it all out on the table for these guys. I think the other reason that I chose you two specifically is I think all three of us are very like, let's give all of the information and value away that we can to help others in their business. And let's do it as honestly and genuinely as we can. So, okay. The first question that I want to get into for everybody is, let's just start with what investing in your business actually means. Like, what exactly can be considered an investment? Do you think money always has to be involved for something to be investment, or what are the different types of investments that there are? Whoever wants to go first.
I thought you were giving your opinion first.
I can do that too.
Okay.
I think we all have a ton of over here. Okay, so basically with investing, I think that it becomes kind of a dirty word and like misunderstood in terms of like, it's not always infusing tons of cash into something in the hopes for a financial return. Investing in your business could be working on your own self-development or your mental health. It could be hiring a new team member. It could be hiring a coach that doesn't even work with you, they work with your team. It could be hiring one of us to actually work on your website or social media, Facebook ads, marketing efforts. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can invest in your business. So it's really important, and we'll get to this in some of the other questions. I think a lot of my questions will overlap, so don't worry about that either, you guys. Just share what you have on your heart to share. But yeah, I think that money is not always involved. It's also about your actual blood, sweat, and tears too. So, a lot of times you might hear things like, oh, well, such and such, usually, your marketing strategies or your business success in general is going to require money or time. That's a pretty common saying that goes around, and neither one is more or less valuable than the other, really. At the end of the day, you want to get to the point where you realize the value of your time. And that's when you also can start to outsource, because your time is so precious. You only have a limited amount of it each day. Even when you have a team, they have a limited amount of it each day. So how are you spending it in your business? But just to stick with that question, that's kind of my thoughts around it.
I love that you also mentioned like the investing in something that doesn't really directly have to do with you, like investing in something for your team. Because I think that a lot of times, just by default, when we look at it, we think like, well, how does this affect my wallet or my time or my, but that was a great point. And so I kind of look at it from like very similar, and I have it kind of in 3 categories when I look at my own life. And I think too, I almost had to relearn this. Like when I became a mom, I had to relearn this, right? And I remember thinking like, hopefully some of you guys will share my opinion on this and it doesn't let me look like a terrible person, but I remember having friends who like, I would sit on boards with them or something, right? And then they'd have children and they'd kind of fall off and they'd say like, well, I have kids now. And I remember thinking, yeah, but I mean, you weren't really like that into it. Like I just think like, oh, maybe it was like an excuse. And all of a sudden I had children and I was like, oh my God. And I remember I was like a year in and I still had my corporate job, loved my corporate job. And my husband, we were at like almost 30 employees at the warehouse. And he was like, I get that like you love what you're doing, but I want you to divide out like what you're making per month there versus what you are, here. And then like, where are you happiest? And I realized I was like, heck, I could like just fly and see the people who I like the most on my team every month. But so I kind of look at it as like, to me, investment means like something not only that you're doing now, but also will like impact your business now, but may also, will also create momentum for the future. So maybe it takes a few weeks to pay off, or it's like real small, right? Like a website, for instance, or like paid advertising. When you first start it, it's not like all of a sudden there's this huge windfall of cash, but all of a sudden over time, you're like, oh, wow, look what it was doing a year ago and what it's doing now. So that's how I look at it as far as like financial investment. And then I also think of like time, right? So I was reading this book one time and it said that go in and like pencil out what is the maximum, like your top 10%, like your most efficient time. What is your value like per hour on that? And then kind of backtrack it and say, okay, so like if I evaluate what I do all day long, my lowest 10%, what is that? And that's what to kick out, right? Or what to, at least when you're doing it, acknowledging I'm choosing to do this. I don't have to do this. And then I think lastly, like the opportunity investment, right? So would I rather do this or would I rather pick up my children, right? Because all of a sudden, like time is real, right? Time is finite. And for me, and I think like, and it's okay to do those things that aren't as efficient, right? But I think they're recognizing that you don't have to, that you're choosing to. So I love to ship. I love it. Like on the weekends, if my kids are at the dairy with my husband or something, I go in and I ship, and it is like my happiest time. And if we're being completely honest, if 5 o'clock rolls around and I'm shipping by myself, I open a beer. And to me, that's a kind of happiness. And, but I acknowledge that it's probably my most inefficient use of time, right? But I'm sure like you guys all kind of feel that way sometimes where you're like, I do all this work for Lifestyle. I do all this work for my media. I do all these things, right? And at the end, the goal is to have that thing go out the door. And sometimes I just need to see it go out the door, right? It's like when you mow the lawn and you turn around and you're like, I did that. No one can undo that. Like it's finished. You're going to have to do it again in a week. But for whatever reason, like just seeing those things ship. So that's kind of how I tier my investments, is like financial, time, or opportunity.
Yes, I love that. And I'm glad that you bring a level of organization to our chat today, because I'm all over the place sometimes, especially this week.
I don't expect this in any other part of my life. I can't tell you how many people they're like, what do you do? And then like I tell them, they're like, you own a business? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so
I literally, okay, this is for every business owner in here. Like, I feel like sometimes like the way that I walk around, like, first of all, what I'm wearing, considering I started off as like, we're in the fashion industry and we all had our own boutiques or still do right now. But I walk around like nobody would ever be able to guess that I'm a business owner. And especially that it was a boutique in particular where I'm like wearing pajamas, like running errands. Like, anyway.
Dude, I only worked in slaughterhouses for 9 years, like every day, hairnet, I would go in public without like my hairnet or like my hard hat or my white coat on, and I'd be like standing next to somebody and I'd be talking to them and they'd have no idea who I was. And then finally I'd have to be like, Jane Cochran. They're like, oh my gosh, you look so different.
Yes, yes. So
Nadia,
Nadia, what is investing to you that we didn't touch on, or that we did?
For me, it's learning. So my
Yeah.
approach on top of everything that Jane said for me is learning, and that is something that I do daily. I have to learn something new daily, and it can be the silliest thing. It can be something that my daughter learned in LA. But for me, the biggest investment when it comes to my business is knowing that I'm learning, and I'm learning often, because it doesn't always require a financial investment, which is what a lot of people are afraid about, right? Because the pattern that I see with my clients, former clients, and then people that come to me wanting to work with me is, I want to invest, but I want returns yesterday. And don't we all, right? I think that's, oh my goodness, right? That'd be beautiful. But guess what? When you're working with a paid funnel, it takes time, like Jane said, right? It takes time that you're not going to see the results right away. But as she said, you create momentum for the future. So when you're learning how the funnel works, that's an investment that you're already putting into your business. Like, oh, I'm investing in this with the understanding that this is what I'm going to get. But before I can get there, I have to learn what it's required of me as a business owner. And when it comes to paid advertising, this is where I personally struggle a lot to explain so other people can understand that just because you paid a certain amount to Facebook on ads, it doesn't mean you're going to get you're going to receive the returns right away. You have to keep posting. You have to have email marketing. You have to have different organic funnels. You have to engage with your audience. You have to perhaps have a small group where you can have your VIPs, where you can I don't know, give them certain previews of what's coming. So when people are able to learn those things, then we can move on to something bigger, which is the paid funnel. In my case, not everything comes down to a financial investment, but I do know that it's required. It takes money to make money. That's my view on it as well. So learn something new, whether it's what a cost per click is, learn what an impression is from the ads perspective. For anything else, learn how posting will benefit your ads versus not posting, compare, right? There's always something that you can learn. So when you take the time to invest in your business, I can assure you, you will see the results, but it's a matter of knowing and understanding that it will take time. So lastly, when we make a financial investment, like I said, we're expecting the results overnight. And that's not how it works. It doesn't work even with email marketing, which is like, I tell my clients, well, with email marketing, you can make money while you sleep. Same with the ads. That's the beauty of it. People can open emails and they click while you're asleep and you make money and you wake up to it. And PayPal or your Stripe account or Shopify reflects that. Yeah, but what do you have to have in order to get there? Where I had to learn that I needed subscribers. How do I get subscribers? Well, your website needed traffic. How can I get more people interested in my website? Maybe you can go to Hot Mess and they can help you with the website. Do you see? It's like a sequence of events that have to happen in order to get to the end goal. So it's just like, I refer to this as the hamster wheel, right? Like you're always going. Sometimes I use that when I'm exhausted and I don't see an improvement, or I see it as I'm following the sequence that I'm meant to follow. And in order for things to work, certain things have to be in that wheel. Like it has to go with organic, with the email, with the ads, with the customer service. I mean, I've seen people get lots of new customers on through Facebook ads, but they don't nurture them, or they have a really bad experience by not responding to messages, and they never hear from them again. So it's a one-time buyer, and that's it. When you already got a buyer, that's the most difficult part. The easiest will be to keep converting them, which is like what Jane does, that they do retention. So I know it's a lot that I talked about, but that's really how I see investment, as one gigantic wheel.
No, I love that. And you have the wheel. I generally refer to it as like a puzzle or a pie, because I think like, especially on my side, we focus so hard on the branding and website optimization in particular, and not on marketing, which is actually driving customers to that website. And so I think it's easy to think like, oh, if I build this amazing website, they will come, and shop, and like, but it's one piece of the puzzle, and you have to have all of them in place. So many of them in place. So I love that. So The next question here on my list is, how does a business decide if they are ready to invest, and what exactly makes sense to invest in next? Okay, so on my side on this one, obviously when you're just starting out, if you don't have like, okay, there's two different people that start a business, right? One is starting from nothing, and I think all three of us were there, right? Jane, you started with nothing in the beginning.
Yeah, it wasn't I had a firewood company before.
Okay. So you had some knowledge that you were bringing in.
I sold on ZZ Star with postcards. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. So you could be starting with nothing, or you can actually have resources already. And those resources could just be business knowledge, could be connections. It could be that you're rich. I mean, some people that are already rich are starting a business, and they are at sort of an advantage, although not necessarily, because if they waste their money foolishly because they just have so much and it doesn't matter. So there's almost like an element to that bootstrapping startup that is like good for you, because you have to make it work. And that's like, I mean, I think that's like, I work best under pressure. I found when things are too peaceful, I just kind of float off, and like, I don't know, like it just, so like, but when I'm thrown into the deep end, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go, like, let's get out of here. Let's stay alive, So anyway, that's a whole nother topic for another day. But okay, my question was, when are you ready to invest? Okay, so if you're bootstrapping in the beginning, obviously you don't have a lot of money. You're starting with time. So that's what you need to invest more and more of. I think one of the earliest, I mean, not super early, it depends, like everybody's different, but like one of the first decisions is like when you reduce your hours at a regular job, or when you leave a job. That is actually a huge that's a huge fucking investment in your business, to leave behind this chunk of time, maybe 40 hours a week that you're working for someone else, that you're spending your precious hours and energy and everything on something else instead of in your business. When I left my day job, I was bringing in thousands, but I didn't have enough profit to cover all of my bills. But I knew like I could no longer spend all of my time and energy there, because then I couldn't be putting it into the business. And that's where I needed to. I was bringing in enough revenue that I knew, what could I do with this extra 40 hours a week that I didn't have to give to someone else, where I didn't want to be giving it to someone else. And it also wasn't lighting me up. Now, if you love your day job, it's a whole different story. That kind of comes back to what Jane was saying about how she ships sometimes because she loves it, and like there's an aspect of it that's that really feels like her getting her hands dirty in her own business, and seeing the results. So it's all about priorities and everything, but I think that's one of the first investments if you're really serious about making your business work. I mean, I know like when I left my day job, it was kind of like, okay, now like I really have to dig into my numbers and make sure that this works, because this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I kind of give myself that like, I took the option of failing off of the table, like it just simply wasn't there. I had to make it work. So that's one investment, but also just looking at the way that you're spending your time. This also goes back to what Jane was saying and what is most valuable for you to be doing. One of the first ways that you can actually outsource is starting to outsource some of the things around your house, the grocery shopping. Like unless you really enjoy going out and grocery shopping, and you totally might,
I do.
like, why are you spending your time on that when you could be spending it on stuff in your business? You know what I mean? Like, what can you get off your plate? And in the beginning, if it's just personal stuff, get it off your plate, And
I think it's cool is like previously, right? If you did that, if you're like, oh, I have someone else do my shopping, like 5 years ago, they're like, oh, you have like a personal assistant. And they're like, no,
right.
I have Instacart.
Yeah, luckily it's all so easy. Almost
before it was like this, right?
Yes.
I have people for that.
But yeah, I mean, even like if you're in the boutique hub, I know that like Ashley, I believe one of her first employees was Beth, who now is like their operations manager or something, I believe. But like she started as a personal assistant, like cleaning toilets and like watching her kids, taking her kids to appointments, like things like that. Like, get things off your plate so that you can focus on what matters. And that might be your first, step into investing. Otherwise, if if you're already super profitable and you're bringing in thousands a month, then you have to think about the opportunity cost. Like if you don't invest further in your business, you're going to be slowing down your own growth. And sometimes in business, if you miss an opportunity, you could actually lose the opportunity altogether. Or so when you have an opportunity, you want to make sure that you're capitalizing on it as soon as you can. So yeah, otherwise it can just escape you basically. But
I think it's kind of equivalent to like, when you have like a group dinner and you invite someone and then after like 3 times of them not coming, you're like, well, I'm not going to invite you anymore. Right.
yeah.
So I think you have to ensure that if someone comes to you with an opportunity, or that at some point you have to decide like, okay, if this is a relationship that I want or opportunity I want in the future, I have to communicate that. And maybe it's not like, I'll do it this time. Maybe it's like, I would love to do it this time. Can we do this instead? Or, because I like you said, like it does go away.
Yeah. Well, or like say that you got invited to do like this cool pop-up event, but it was going to, and you knew like okay, listen, pop-up events are also another story for another day, because like you can spend thousands and it doesn't mean that you're going to get that money back. There's a lot to like what makes a successful pop-up. But say that for some reason you knew this specific pop-up was going to have thousands of people walking by in foot traffic, and you knew that they were real shoppers, like there were people that were in your demographic that were going to possibly be interested in what you carry. Like this was a solid opportunity. Now, how often do we know that something's solid? I know that's like a perfect world kind of thing, but pretend that you did know, and would you be scared to invest or not? But that was kind of not really the point I was trying to make.
Well, I think it kind of branches to that, right? Because like with a pop-up opportunity, your space is almost determined by how long you're there, who you've been there, right?
Yeah. Well, and then also like, are you gonna have tons of foot traffic but not enough inventory for them? But same on your website too. Like if you're investing in a ton of Facebook ads and they're hitting your site and everything's out of stock and everything because you didn't properly invest, like there's a lot of different investment types in your business that just don't make sense to tiptoe or dabble. Like Facebook ads is a really good one here. Like if you are learning how to run Facebook ads on your own slowly over time, then you could dabble maybe. But like if you're bringing on an expert, you have to pay them monthly for their, management fees. And like usually they have a minimum expected, monthly ad spend as well. And so like this is not time to dabble. It's time to go all the fuck in, and this is not just the money that you're spending on the ads themselves, but all the other things that go along with it. Are you spending thousands of dollars a month sending someone to a website that doesn't look professional, or to a website where again they're clicking on different items and categories and things are empty and out of stock in their sizes, and they don't feel safe, they can't find the sizing information, the return information, like all of these things go together. So if you're going to invest in something, you can't, and that's another thing, is you can't really invest in all of the things properly at once. Like you want to really pick and choose and focus and go all in and be intentional. Okay, I'm officially going all over the place. So I'm going to pass the baton to Nadia this time, and so this one is, how does a business decide if they're ready to invest, and what exactly makes sense to invest in next?
So this will make sense. This will tie into what you were just talking about. For Facebook ads, one of the things that I'm doing now is that when people approach me about wanting to work together, I'll ask, can you go without the fee that you're going to pay me and the ad spend for at least 3 to 6 months? No. Okay, this is not a good investment. Why? Because I know some people have made money in like a week. Yes, and I actually work with some of those people that have become like multimillionaire with ads and their hard work, obviously. But that's because they had the money for that. They were not going to blink an eye. It was not going to make them go broke. It was not going to affect their inventory or how much they could buy or who they're going to pay next, right? So if you can go without that money for 3 to 6 months, let's do it. And on top of that, I want to make sure that you have email marketing. If you do not have email marketing, that's where you want to get started. And once that's done, let's make sure that you have organic traffic. So it doesn't make any sense for anybody to invest in Facebook ads if there's no organic resources in place. And I'm only talking about from my point of view with ads. And I told several people before, I said, listen, email marketing is not optional. Ads are. And that's what people just don't get. Yeah, but the ads will make you a lot of money. But if you have the subscribers, you can bring them back to you. You can increase your customer loyalty. You don't have to go and pay for the funnel, for the cost per click and all this stuff. You can keep everybody engaged. Once that you're making good money from that, then you can go ahead and invest here. Otherwise, you're going to be messaging me every single day. I'm probably going to start getting frustrated because we had an understanding, an agreement, and we agreed that we were going to give this time to work, because if you don't have the right mindset, there's no way that you're going to succeed. It doesn't matter if you're banking $1 million a month. It just doesn't matter. People go broke even with that because they don't understand that this is a process. So as far as I can say, if the emails are performing well, if you already have that in place, then the next step is ads. If you do not have any of that, then we go back. And if you don't have email, you don't even have a proper website, then you start with the website. Other than that, do not invest on ads because they're getting more expensive. And whoever tells you, oh, I can guarantee a minimum ROAS, that's not happening. That is not true. Especially as I compared the results from Advantage Plus campaigns and manual campaigns, and we see different results. So a lot is changing with the platform, and as Q4 is around the corner, the ads are going to be more expensive anyway. So for my end, it's like, can you go with that this investment for 3 to 6 months? Yes. Okay, then we're good. Otherwise, you need to take a step back, go to email, or go back to website, or go back to posting, because that's really the sequence that we have to follow. The ads are there to support you. Ads are not there to make you sales overnight in a desperate moment, because it's just not how it works, right? So that's what I got.
Yes, that last point is super important for sure. It's just like really all marketing, like investing, should be to multiply what's already working well in your business,
Exactly.
not to
Multiply.
start
Yep.
from scratch, or you're going to be paying so much money for it. It's not that it's not possible, but unless you're on that rich end where you started a business and just already have all of this money, then go ahead. If you have the money, properly invest into an amazing website and an amazing Facebook ad team and an amazing social media marketing team. But most of us can't do all of this at once, you know? So,
yeah.
Okay.
There's this person who, I'm big on quotes. Like I love to write down quotes. And so I just have like super random ones all over my notebook. But there was one that said something to the effect of like, organic marketing is fishing in a fish tank and paid advertising is fishing in a pond, right? And so when you go fishing in a pond, like I can tell you, if I bring out a boat and I go fishing with the bait that I think is going to work and the area that I think is going to work, right? And at the time of day, yeah, I'll probably catch something eventually. It might take me a full day. But if you have like a neighbor who goes fishing every single day and he makes his own flies and all that, right? That's the difference. Like he's going to know, he's going to watch what you're doing and say like, well, why are you going at noon? Like they only bite at 6 or 6:30, or this lake actually doesn't really have what you want, right? And I think that's the difference is like, do the number of fish change? No. But like your bait and your knowledge and all of those different things do. And that's, you're not paying someone to execute the ads. You're paying some, and it's like similar with the website, right? Like I could build a website. If people purchase off of it, only on accident. It's not gonna happen. And I remember when because we started in 2013, and I think in 2016 or 2017, we were working with this ads guy. I thought our website was fine. And he was really pushing us. And we were at the point like we were doing 6 figures a month, and I still had this rickety website. And he was like, and I'm like, why would I fix it if it isn't broke? And he's like, it is broke. It is broke. So finally he's like, if at the end of the month, he's like, I will pay for your website. And that should have been like a huge red flag to me that like, wow, I should really get my life together. But he's like, I will pay for your website. If at the end of the month you feel like it doesn't make a difference, then you don't have to pay me back. So he had this guy build it. And within 2 days, the website had paid for itself. But we already had that much traffic going to it. And so I think too, like if you like never stop questioning. And that's what we did with email, like for our own business, was I was like, well, I'm at like a 20 or 30x. Like, why I don't need to improve it, right? Because I was always comparing it to ads. And then I was listening to these podcasts and all these different things. And I realized like, I could be at 90, I could be at 150, but I was happy with where it was. So I know that Nadia likes to use the circle and Angela likes the puzzle. I like the triangle. And so I always think of like the triangle of profitability, which that is a right triangle. Okay. So at the very bottom are the things that have your highest ROI, right? And that is like your posting, your website, right? Because that is something that like you pretty much like pay for once, and then there's little things for maintenance, but it's not like an ongoing thing, right? There's not really like a cost per person. You pay for the website, and then that is very much determined by the amount of people that come. And then from there, so that's like, I mean, it could be close to infinity if you do it correctly. And then the next tier is going to be your retention marketing. So, right. So like those are kind of like your warm-ish people. And those are the ones whose information you already have. So those are the ones who email marketing, text marketing, like the ones that are already in your funnel, those people who already shop in your shopping center, that type of thing. And then at the very, and that should be at like a 30 to a 90x. Okay. Texting will be kind of on the lower end just because the cost of text is higher. And then it also obviously depends on like you can't sell apples out of an empty cart, right? So if I'm sending somebody the same email 3 times, they're going to unsubscribe, they're going to leave, or they're not going to convert. And people are going to say like, well, why is my ROI low? Well, it's because we have nothing new to show them, right?
Just sell. Yeah.
Like Nadia, she specializes in top of funnel. She does a lot with middle and bottom as well, but like, she can go to that pond. I'm supposed to keep the fish interested in the tank. And like I could do that by putting in like new seaweed or like a new rock or whatever. But like at some point, like the fish are like, you just put that from there over here, like we've already seen it. And so, once you get like that middle, then that's when you go to the top. And Nadia and I have had quite a few conversations about this, like where if you have, if you're spending that money for your top of funnel to drive someone to your site. So Nadia like captures that fish, right? And then it's that middle of funnel's responsibility to help her to convert, right? So that's that first step. Like as I become a new customer, it is that middle responsibility to help the top convert, right? So we're supposed to be here to support Nadia and like what she's doing. She's like, I'm going to work my tail off to bring these people. I can only track so much, and also like the cost per click on email or text is a lot cheaper. Are you going to be able to do that for everyone? No. But why not do it if you can, right? When we first started doing automations, our ROA went up by 1.7. And we were like real heavy on ads. I don't do lives. I'm not the face of our business. That's just not the type of business that we are, that I want to have. And so for that reason, we do go a little bit heavier on ads. But I'm able to spend my time other places. Right. So I may be just as profitable as the person next door that makes, thousands of dollars every single live, but I'm not spending that hour on a live. I'm able to have dinner with my kids, right? I'm able to sit there and train my employees with that hour in order to I'll train them on SEO. I'm going to train them on different things, right? So they're able to sit there and replicate. And so we always just try to ensure that people have that one layer before the next. And it's the same thing, like where she said, people come to her for ad spend or for paid ads, and then they don't have email, right? It's like for us, if we have someone that comes to us for email and then their website's in pretty rough shape, we tell them we can convert these people, but I'm going to tell you a heck of a lot more of them will convert if you have a better website, right? Or one thing that kills me is people that have thousands of products on their site, but the majority of them are sold out. And they're like, well, it's because of Pinterest or whatever. We'll get a 404 app. Get a super cute app that says looks like this one's sold out. Don't worry. Here's so we have, I think ours goes to Jane's favorites or something like that. And it's our top 10 evergreen products that are always in stock that we manage production on. And so one thing that I think has helped us tremendously is we realized, and with the help of paid advertising. So we understand, as we go, we'll pick out our highest converting product for the last year, right? And then we'll work with our paid advertiser and say, do you think we can continue to replicate this? And usually, if it's your top from that year, the chances are yes. We always go with a lower V-cut booty because it can kind of go any season, right? I know for those of you that sell clothing, I'm not going to buy this in Idaho in the winter. Okay. So we do have a little bit different of a lifetime on things. But then we'll go to that manufacturer or the brand and for us, like with footwear, brand matters, right? Because you know what your foot wears. You can think a shoe's really cute and you're like, Madden's too narrow for me, or like Birkenstock's too wide, or the arch doesn't work, right? So we go to that specific brand instead of going on our own and cutting it. And we say, hey, if we partner with you in production, how many do we have to do and what's our price point? And then all of a sudden, instead of having like a 2.5x on shoes, we're able to go to our paid advertiser and say, okay, let's market to our evergreen. Let's market to our actual hero products. I know I have a 4x. I know I have a 5x. And I will tell you, like, when you can get to that point, it will totally change things. And Nadia knows way more about hero products than I do. I just know how we use them in-house, and it is a total game changer. So I would also say, like, if you're at that, if your triangle, you already have those 3 layers, and you can make your triangle just a little bit taller with that top layer of somehow being involved in production, do it. Because that brand also likes the security of being like, you know what? I am going to put this into production. I know my exact cost, and they're able to take like our PO and, if they need funding or whatever, go to their bank and say, like, I have this PO from this company. They're buying 12,000 pair. They can do all these things. And that really opens up the relationship, like Angela was saying. And then if there are interesting opportunities, right? Like if there's a company that, a brand we work with that filed bankruptcy, another company bought it. And because they looked at our history, they said, like, hey, will you take all the shoes out of this bankruptcy? And we got them all for $5 a pop. Like, but that's because a couple of years ago, they said, hey, we have these like pallets when we were doing inventory. We didn't realize we had them. Would you be interested? And they weren't like perfect for what we needed. They kind of worked, whatever. But we knew like this was an opportunity that had never come to us before, right?
Yep.
And they could have just as easily gone to Nordstrom's or someone else, and they came to us. And so we played ball with that. And because of that, like, I mean, we're set. But we played ball even when it was a little bit difficult to do so.
Mm-hmm.
That all reminds me too of just the concept of optimization in general, because, if you, and especially in terms of like where to invest next in your business, like invest where it's working. Like what in your business is working already, and how can you make the most of that? Because again, we can't do all of these things like at once, but if, in terms of products, like if you have a particular best-selling product, like how can you capitalize on that particular product? How can you increase the profit margin? Like Jane was saying, how can you make sure that you have more and more and more of that brand or that particular product, so that you can, like, if you have an ad that's working really well, like you don't want to lose that, like you want to keep that momentum and you want to be able to scale it. And so if that's a very specific product, you should definitely get really close and comfy with like making sure that you keep that stocked. And obviously if it's seasonal, that's a whole nother thing. But like, if it's something that's more of a staple, like just, and in general, in terms of where to invest, like figure out like what is your actual pain point right now? Like what is your bottleneck? Like if you could pinpoint one area that you feel is slowing your own potential for growth right now, like just one single thing, and that's the thing to like work on next.
See, from the ads. So from the ads point, I go back to that. From the ads point of view, no. So challenge that I see for the ads. Anyway, I don't know why I did that. From the ads point of view, so one challenge that I have, and I've been having for so many years, is that people do not want to reinvest their returns. And I'll say, hey, I gave you 8 times, right? 10 times. I have some clients that are banking 22, which is wild. I think we should put some of that back. Oh no, but I'm honestly considering expanding the local store. Okay, is the local store giving you returns as much as the apps, as online? Well, no, but my dream is to have it. Okay, and I respect that because we all have dreams and goals. I'm happy for you. I really am. However, how about you just take a 10% of that or 20% of that and we've reinvested? I got clients that they haven't even increased their budget in like 2 or 3 years. And when the time a Q4 comes, because of the new way that I'm working with people and the new programs that I'm bringing, I will have to let them go. And a lot of these people have been people that have been with me for a long time, but where I'm going, I need people that can actually come forward. They can walk with me in this path of, hey, you know that I have the expertise, you know that I have the knowledge. If I don't know something, I'll refer you to someone. But you have to reinvest some of that. And the ads are quite good, are giving people this expectation, right? Like, for example, you can say, I have these shoes that are selling nonstop. Okay, let's say that you're restocking and restocking. Then you bring another product that becomes your top seller. People are no longer interested in that. They want the top seller. So what do you do with the rest of the inventory? So that's where you really have to, look at those numbers and say, okay, I see the progress, or I see these numbers, these units were sold, but things are starting to slow down. So maybe I shouldn't restock on this. Maybe I should focus on this. But it involves keeping an eye on those numbers that unfortunately most of us don't do sometimes, right? And that you need the accountant to come with questions for you to wonder, like, oh my God, yeah, let me look into that for you. Because I've done that, and it'll be like, oh, that's right, my personal expense. It happens. So now, in order to work together, and I do that not even so much for me, because I mean, what do I get out of clients spending more money? Facebook doesn't give me a cut. If anything, it's more maintenance for me, right? But to me, it's more important that they understand what the process looks like. They understand that if you're making $10 from a dollar that you're investing, that it's only fair to put some of that back into the business, because otherwise you're not going to grow. You're going to get stuck in there. So you have to know when to invest. And sometimes it's very obvious, but there's a lot of resistance to it. Well, Facebook is giving me, it's making this money. Why should I have to pay back? They should continue to give me this kind of money. I should be a size 4 right now, and I'm not. It's not
She was like,
happening.
what's serving you? I was like, Cheetos.
I know.
Oh my
I'm
God.
having this for breakfast. That's why I'm not a size 4. So I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not giving my body what it needs. Therefore, you need to give your ads what they need. Does that make sense, right? So
Well,
we're expecting.
yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
It's also like, it reminds me of the don't spend good money chasing bad kind of thing, of like,
Yes.
like with the storefront, for example, that may be your dream, but like, what makes sense for your business on a financial level? Like,
Yeah.
you don't know that this is going to work, but this over here is already working and you're not even making the most of it. Make the most of this before you do anything else.
Squeeze everything.
You're carrying, okay, so say you're carrying women's clothing, and it's like when you think about like, oh, should I add plus? Should I add men's? Should I add children's? No, not really. Like, not unless you're ready to dig deep in there and there's a reason to do that. Focus on what actually works and make the most of that before you do any of these other, because otherwise you're literally spending money and time and marketing efforts on something that may or may not work. And I'm not saying there's not a time and place to do that, but if you already have something over here that is working, why on earth are you not making the most of that first? Like, that should be.
And you have to put in perspective, like you said. I mean, this is what's giving me the money. There was someone that I worked with before that she didn't want to push graphic tees, and I said, that's where you're getting most of your returns. Yeah, but I prefer to sell this. Okay, if you want to sell a $200 necklace, that's a completely different demographic. And my top 2 clients, 80% of their sales are graphic tees, and we're talking that they're banking like 8 figures a year. And that's because they found what works for them and they monetize it. Because ads, that's all it is. Data, that's all it is on social media. I will monetize the life out of you with your activity because Facebook allows me to do that. And the law, I'm not breaking the law, but that's just how it works, right? FYI, I'm not doing anything illegal. But if there's an opportunity to grow those returns, to provide a more comfortable life for you and your children, as Jane was saying, I prefer to be at home and have dinner with my kids. Dinner is at 6:00 in my house every single night, and we will eat as a family. And there's certain things that I will never ever take a call around that time, because that's my time with my family. And then I snuggle my dogs too, so I will not take that away from myself or them, right? But you have to be like, this is non-negotiable.
Yeah. It's all about priorities at the end of the day. Like, if something is important enough to you, then you do need to do it. But really be intentional about when is the best time to do that. Like, because if you try to jump in and do something just because it's important to you super early, and you have a team and people relying on you, and like, you're spending money over here that should have been spent over here, and it's business neglect at that point, but again, if something is important enough to you, figure out how to make it work, figure out how to fit it in. Maybe it's when you get to a certain level where there's enough profit that you're able to set aside to try this new thing. But you want to focus on keeping your business alive and profitable in the meantime, because otherwise it doesn't matter. Like sometimes you need to remind yourself, like if we don't have the profitability, like I don't get to keep my team working, you know, like I don't get to help people anymore. Like at the end of the day, my business needs to be profitable or it's gonna fizzle out, you know.
And I think too, like creating rules, right? Like we have, and we went through, like, if you guys have listened to, we did like a podcast on the hub. We went through like some crazy thing and it taught me a lot. But we evaluate everything on MER. And so like every Monday I get my ads report, right? And so I go in and I have a spreadsheet and I like live and die by this spreadsheet. So it has my overhead. I have it all divided out per week, my overhead per week, my, my cost of Klaviyo per week, my cost of, and then I pull up, okay, so if I did this many orders, so like I plug in my shipping cost for the entire week, and then I plug in how many orders I did. And it calculates out like my shipping per order. And then I put in my ad cost, and then I go into Better Reports and I look up how much was the cost of my inventory I sold that week. And obviously it'll fluctuate. Like 2 weeks ago, we did a $20 sandal sale, right? And so maybe we did like $100,000 in sales, but if I looked at the cost of my product, it was like higher than it would have been ever, right? But I knew going into that, like, okay, this is me getting out. So I'll look at that and I know, okay, so if I take my ads, if I take everything and like for that week, right? So it doesn't really have to do with budgeting. I want to know my real numbers for that week. And then I tell myself, okay, if I get what I want my profit to be, and this includes taxes, everything, like what I want my profit to be is this amount per week or $12 per order. Okay. And then if I'm able to say like, okay, I'm getting $14 an order, then I'll go and I'll email our ads person and say, hey, my MER is giving me this, right? Go ahead and increase. We'll increase spend by 2 to 3% a week. And I'll get high. Like I'll get high. Right. So anyway, I have to go. But I mean, if we have an ad set that goes great, like sky's the limit. We've gotten there at our most. We were spending $12,000 a day on ads, but we were having like $1.5 million months. I was fine with that. Like I'm okay with that because I'm not putting my time. I'm working on it, 2 to 3 hours a day. I try to make sure those hours are just crazy efficient. And I also I check my email throughout the day to be aware, but I normally won't respond. There's probably some of your clients, you're like, yeah, I know. Sorry about that. But anyway, so we use that as our gauge. So I either use I choose what my metric is. Like I choose my overall, I choose my dollar per order, or I choose, if I'm above like a 4 MER, I'm okay with spending more because I know that I have so much whittled down to so little that I made sure like every single piece is as efficient as possible in my mind. Right. And then from there, I know where to increase. And I feel like, because once you get to a certain amount of increasing, right, then that's where your economy of scale kicks in. And so I would say don't be afraid. And like the shoes, we never anticipated to do shoes. That was not our plan. We were in business 3 years before we even touched shoes. And the only reason that I started photographing more shoes was I was pregnant. I just had a baby. The one thing comes after the other, right? I just had a baby. I was pregnant first. It's crazy. But anyway, so after I had Billy, I didn't like the way I looked. And a lot of what we were doing had me as the face. And so I was like, well, let's just take pictures of my feet instead. And it turns out that the clientele that I had loved shoes. And then we were able to find a hero shoe. Our first year selling shoes, we had one we sold 5,000 of. And I had never even sold a full case of shoes, but we found that one shoe. And then we were like, hey, can we move forward with this? Can we go into production? And so we were selling out of production. And I think that goes to what Nadia was saying, that we didn't want to sell shoes. That was not my intention at all. But I also had to look at it is this going to be a hobby or a business? And if it's a business, I have to do what the numbers tell me to do. And if it's a hobby, then I can do what I want to do, right?
We don't buy a product for ourselves. We buy it for our clients, for our customers, and our customers tend to like something completely different than what we would like. And that is so hard to walk away from it, because you're like, I will never wear that skirt, but guess what? It's my bestseller. And you just have to give them what they want. Because
Until
that's what I
COVID,
tell
we didn't
everyone.
like very casual shoes. And I remember like
Yeah.
we like only did Western and sometimes sandals during the
Yeah.
summer. And it was only for our brick and mortar. And our reps would come in and they try to show me a sneaker. I'm like, we don't do sneakers. And
Yeah.
they're like, why? I'm like, they don't sell well. And then it was actually Todd Home when he was our Corky's rep. And he's like, well, how bad do they sell? Like, what's your data? Show me the last sneaker you sold. And I was like, well, I don't track them. I only bring in like 4. And he's like, okay, so you're telling me that you're choosing not to sell something that is less than a pound. You can ship for a lot less. It has, friendlier sizing, all these different things. You're choosing not to sell it because you say that it's not going to sell well, but you can't prove that to me. And
Yeah, that reminds me, just the whole thing, like you need to have tracking metrics in place, like otherwise you don't know what your ROI is in general on, and you can't necessarily, like, even with Facebook ads, like I wouldn't rely specifically on Facebook ROI, like set some other goals around certain aspects of your business and monitor and track them. And when you decide to make an investment, you need to think about, what are you really trying to get out of this investment? Because we didn't really touch yet on like what can you get out of it, but it's not always financial.
Well, we're on question 2, so
yeah.
I just clock. Like, oh,
That's question 3. Okay.
Yes. Well, I know. How are you guys on time? Like Nadia and Jane, I know that we started late.
I have like this much left. So
I think I'm okay for another 20 minutes. Yeah. I'm okay for another 20 minutes. Yeah.
So, how does a business decide their budget for investing? Wait, hold on. Make sure they get an ROI. Oh, how does the business owner make sure that they get the ROI they want from their investment? Is ROI always about financial return? So the biggest thing I want to mention here is just how does the business owner make sure they get ROI? Oh, it's just doing your part. Like, you cannot just hire any expert in any arena or even an employee and just expect that you're going to get whatever that you wanted out of it. You have to say, okay, if I'm investing thousands of dollars into this Facebook ads, we're going to pay the manager, we're going to pay the ads. What else do I have to do on my side of the street to make sure that this works? And then we've talked a lot about this already, but I mean, that's the biggest point that I want to drive home here.
That was actually the first thing I wrote down was like, what do they need from you?
Yes.
Because I will tell you, like, even when we do our build outs, we're like, we tell them like 5 to 10 days or whatever. And then I can't tell you how many times we've gotten emails and they're like, hey, is this ready? And we're like, we actually have 7 emails to you. I had to download Facebook to do this. People, like, if it's a last resort, I'll DM people and say, I don't know if you're seeing my emails, but so I think like right out the gate, say like, what do you need from me? And that doesn't mean with like just the initial thing, but like, I'm sure Nadia could speak to this, like where people say, hey, my ads are going downhill. And she's like, yeah, I can test different audiences, but like, I need new creative too, right? If you're showing like a fall outfit and all of a sudden it's coming into January, like people want to start thinking about something else. And so I think like from the ROI, asking that person too, like, what is realistic? What could we get to, right? Because I think, like I said, with like, don't be comfortable with an ROI thinking that it's great when it could be more, right? Like, I'm sure some of you on this call, you're listening to Nadia and you're like 22, and 22 isn't normal. 22 is an outlier. But I think knowing that outlier exists, you're like, okay, well then I can push more on my side, right? And then reporting, like, make sure that you are getting your report. And not just getting the report, looking at the report, right?
Maybe you're understanding it even. Like, what, like if you don't understand it, and you're just letting it happen, you're in for a rough ride with that investment. Like, you need to do what you have to do. So like, I think all 3 of us would, none of us want to be annoyed, but I would rather have you annoy me and my team. We would never say that you're annoying, okay? But I would rather have you bug us with questions than sit there feeling like you wish that we were doing something differently or not understanding why you're not getting the results that you wanted. Like, you need to do your part to make sure that you understand what's going on, that you have goals set, that you're paying attention to whether you're starting to make progress towards those goals. That's on you guys. No matter how expert the person that you're bringing on is, it doesn't matter. We can only do as well as like your participation in the process.
Well, I think too, your questions help us to see our gaps, right? Like maybe there's a ton of in like our final documents when we're done with someone's program, there's a bunch of like training videos in there. The only reason those training videos are in there because we had enough people saying like, hey, do you have something on this? Or do you have a tutorial? Like I know Nadia has a bunch of classes, and if you guys aren't signed up for her email list has great information. And I can guarantee that it does. I read it all the time, but I can guarantee that like, you know, she's not just sitting there like driving down the road being like, oh, I would love to talk about this, right? And she drafts an email. It's probably because people were asking questions, or there were things that were coming up, and she's like, you know, if there's 5 people asking, you can guarantee that there's 50 people wondering.
Yes.
Oh, I'm writing quotes too. Since you said that, I have like 2 or 3 that I've been writing. I already have them here. I go, oh yes, that's a good one.
Don't be like my kids and just randomly blurt them out. And they're like, I'm like, I don't know where they come from.
Okay, yeah, I love that.
And so always says, he says, collaborate and listen. I'm like, oh God, he's
yeah. Ooh, okay. So yeah,
I love
that one too.
I'm like, he learned that from his dad.
That's funny. For the ROI, so is it always financial return? So yes and no, but it's more like yes from what I do. Here's why. Because even though you might not be seeing purchases come in right away, you are your website is getting more traffic, you are getting more subscribers, you're getting more comments, you're getting more DMs, and those are different ways to measure your success. And with that being said, once you have those people in the meta pixel, you can monetize them one way or another. If you have a subscriber, you can work with them with email marketing. If you have people that send you messages, you can retarget them as well, because they fall within what I call the meta pool, which is Facebook engagement, Instagram engagement, video viewers, commerce account shoppers or viewers, product viewers. There's a lot of audiences that we cannot create thanks to Commerce Manager. They give us a different type of audience after Apple came up with the iOS stuff. There was a way around it. There's always been. So ultimately, the goal is to monetize them, but it might not look like that right away, right? The money's coming in terms of higher traffic, more subscribers, more engagement. And then you just go, if you're doing ads, you just go and tell them, hey, this is who I want to target. And if you're doing organic marketing, then you email that person and put them through the system, through the flows, through the automations. So from my perspective, yes, it all comes down to the financial return, because that's really what I want. That's what I promise my clients. Hey, we might not be able to optimize this person today, but there are so many different branches of the funnel that we can use within the marketing infrastructure that you have in place. And the goal is to get them to convert. And my clients can tell you this too. I'll let them know, I don't care if I don't get the credit. I don't care if the Facebook ads do not get the credit. I don't care if the credit goes to text messages or email marketing. I just want to know that you are growing your subscriber base. And if that is happening with the traffic that I'm sending, I don't care, because we're working together to help you succeed. So whether she gets the credit, you get the credit, I get the credit, or somebody else gets the credit, it's happening. And the numbers speak for themselves. So now convincing my clients that, hey, this actually came from the ads, that's a completely different story. But the ones who truly understand that, they know that ultimately they were able to monetize them one way or another. They fell within the pool that we have of an audience, and we found ways that work better for that person to convert.
Well, I think even like, and that's why we use MER, but another one we track is like, we put up, we have just a random section that says like how many first time customers.
Yes.
Because you can look in there and like, I can tell you, if you have a huge increase in first time customers, it probably wasn't us, right? Because someone put them there, and it's usually advertising, or you have a reel that goes viral or whatever. But and I think that like, and I've even had the same frustrations when you start like a new ad set and you have a bunch of clicks, but it doesn't show that there's purchases. But then I saw an increase, but I wasn't sure where it came from. But the reality is there's only so many things that can really have top of funnel. And if all of a sudden your first time people increased and you look at your organic ad posting and that's about the same as it was before, then by process of elimination, you're able to say like, okay, so my paid ads are doing something. Facebook's not telling me they are. Maybe Hyros isn't telling me they are, but like they're really plugging in.
Yeah, attribution in general, I mean, it's definitely complicated. And so some of it has to be trial and error for you to figure out like what is working. Like if you do more of this and less of this, like does that improve things or does it make it worse? And I know we never want to like make a change if things are, working, but it's also like, can you figure out what you're actually, which aspects are working so that again, you can do more of that and not waste your time on the other stuff. But you're never going to really be able to understand it crystal clear 100%. Like that's just not possible because you're doing so many different things in order to get these customers through your door. So you just want to, it's like that 80-20 rule where you want to do what you can to figure out how to spend most of your time on the 20% of the things that are bringing in the 80% of your money. But it's not easy to figure that out by any means. So, and that's our job. Like that basically is our main job as business owners, well, on top of several other things. But
if you guys want the spreadsheet that I use, I have I have like a simplified version. I'm more than happy to share it. I might send it to Nadia first to have her like
totally.
And then I'll act like it was a mistake, not that I've been using it to make decisions for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But I'm more than happy to share it because I think it's somewhat simple. And I like having something that, like, I'm not going to sit down and spend 20 minutes a week doing this, right? Like I want to be able to go into Shopify, plug in numbers, take the number Nadia gives, take the number Better Reports gives, plug it in. And then from there, just be like, here's my decision. I'm done. Right?
Yes.
It's not easy. We're not going to do it.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely has to be easy and you have to, just check on it regularly. But the most automated that you can get it, like I finally have our goal boards of the main metrics we track, like it's pretty much all automated on monday.com. And that's another way to invest in your business. Like, are there systems or automations that can, maybe you're not going to see an ROI directly on investing in this new program, but if it frees up enough of your time, now you have that to spend on more important, things that are revenue generating basically. But yeah, I'd love to see that worksheet too. And definitely feel free to share it in our group. Like you can make a post in my group and just share it there too. Okay, so then I know we're running out of time now. How do we find the right expert? So I think the main thing I want to start with here
We're here. What else do you need?
Yeah. The main thing I want to start with is making sure that you're clear before you even look for an expert on where's your actual pain point and bottleneck. Like, where is it going to make sense to, like, what do you need to get off your plate first? And again, it could be that personal assistant before, like, so that you even have the time to dig deeper into thinking like, okay, what do I really need? But start with that. And then also make sure that you have proper goals, because let's take something like organic social media marketing, just as an example. You can find experts all across the board. You can pay someone as little as $100 a month to post 5 times a day on your page. Guess what? It's going to get crickets on every post. Is that really what you need right now? Maybe though, you're far enough along where like somebody to come in and just be consistent will actually be impactful for you. I don't know. It depends on where you're at. Because also, how much information do you have to give this person you're only paying them $100 a month? Do you have enough creative and content and direction for them? Because they need all of that. They're not going to be able to provide that for $100 a month. Or do you need somebody to sit down with you and dig into the strategy, dig into the branding, create the graphics with you, do all the copy, and make sure that every post is actually getting seen and engagement? Like, those are 2 totally different things. So be really clear about what you're looking for when you're looking for that expert, and, ask them the tough questions, because like you can find a million people to just give your money to and they'll do something. Is it the right thing? Is it going to be done in the best way? Is it going to actually get seen and drive traffic, or whatever it is that your goal is around that? So yeah, those are my main tips there.
I think like just how to choose them is, number 1, ask what the benchmarks are, right? And make sure that they give you solid benchmarks. Have them give you a number. Because if they're like, oh, well, it should increase this or increase this, say like, by what? Like, what's my goal? You don't have to tell me what I'm going to do now, but like, what's my goal, or what did, and also asking around, obviously, right? Like, I think our community is great, but I think also take into consideration who, like, I don't know, let's say Nadia and I are both in the hub as boutique owners, right? And we're both saying like, oh, like she puts up a post like, hey, I want to know, who do you guys use for ads? And I put like Nadia, she's amazing. Because of Nadia, I was able to bring in, $200,000 last month, or my ads did $200,000, right? And then Angela is like, oh, wow, that's great. Like, I'm going to call Nadia. And then maybe Angela does $2,000 a month. And then she's like, well, this is ridiculous. Like, I didn't bring in $200,000. And it's all relative. Like, maybe that was only 10% of what I brought in, right? And so understanding that like, not, and not that like bigger or smaller or whatever, but like maybe I go live every night, and maybe Angela has no intentions of going live, right? Like maybe Nadia's, using the people who, attend my lives but don't purchase to make her ad set. And so I think it is great for those people, if you're taking tips on like who people use and how much they did, instead of saying like, well, how much did you do? Say like, well, what was it like to work with them? Like, what did they need from me? What did, those type of things. And then instead of saying like, well, how much did you do? Maybe say like, what we use the term affiliation rate instead of attribution rate. Cause I think that there's, we all have omni-channel. And so instead of saying like, well, how much did you do? Say like, well, how much of your business, how much of your business was from email marketing before and how much is now? Like, I think that's a great conversation. And you don't have to talk dollar figures. You can maybe talk percentages, right? And I think that's and Nadia, I know she goes through this on the daily because we've had these conversations. And so understanding that like, we can't promise dollar values, but we can give you really great reference points on what percentage.
Yeah. And see, the percentage part, I love it because I'll just say it, people lie. And people lie a lot, I'm sorry. Okay, I should have used another term. But like, people lie. No, they do. And I don't understand because I've approached people before and say, why are you telling people to do this, other business owners to do this, when you and I know you're in the red? Well, it's just that it worked for me. It worked for you 6 months ago when you had a lot of inventory, when you had a lot of da. That's irresponsible because then they'll think this is the way to go. And I let somebody go. I said, I cannot work with you because you're just saying this, and that. And it feels wrong because your competitors are coming to me, asking me to replicate what you're doing. First of all, I'm giving you a heads up. And two, it's irresponsible. It almost comes across as if, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And I believe in you and I'll support you and the whole thing. But your revenue is way different than what this person was doing. So if the $200,000 was a 10% increase or 20% increase after starting ads, but you were only making 10 grand, well, let's hope that you can get to 12 or 14. Now we're talking percentages. We're not talking amounts because, like I said, people lie about it. And I don't know why they do that, but they do. And as far as how to find the right person, 2 things that I go by: set the expectations. Hey, this is what I would like to see. Again, numbers, we can all wish that we can get a 22 times returns, but what can I expect? Okay, this is what you can expect. What do you need from me? And most importantly, if your contractor or your consultant is telling you, this is what I need from you, make sure you deliver on your commitment. Because just like you can let a contractor go, the contractor can let you go as well. It's a two-way street. It's no longer that I have to put up with this. I mean, yeah, sometimes you do what you have to do if you have to provide for your family, if you have to take care of your employees. But there comes a point where you said, I'm only as good as the data or as the creatives or as the money that you're spending, or as you're even sometimes the attitude. Not responding to messages, just pretending the question wasn't asked is not good. It's wrong, especially when you're a grown up in business, right? You want to make sure that you ask certain questions. Hey, I'm not seeing returns. I feel that I'm doing everything. And it's happened before. You know what? Might be on my end. Let me take a look at the strategy. Guess what? We're advertising products that you want to push, but you're not restocking. Oh, that's because they got delayed. By how many days? We're looking at a month. Those ads have to be pulled, and we have to come up with something new. But because they get the traffic, right, it makes it look like, oh, they're ready to purchase, but there's nothing to buy. So I look at all of that. I ask my clients, may I have access to your Shopify to look at your products, to look at your stats, and all of them have given me access without a problem. So if I'm comparing Facebook, when I do my audits, I'll compare them to Shopify. And I say, hey, so you have 650 adds to cart, but you only had 120 purchases. This is not this is not, okay, it doesn't add up. What's happening? Well, it turns out that the products were already sold out, and we have to keep in mind that it takes 5 to 7 visits for somebody to convert. And that's where the education piece comes on my part. And I let them know my job is to do ads. My job has not been to coaching until recently that I'm starting this, but it's just a two-way street. The communication, keep the communication going. And as a client, deliver on your commitments, because as clients, and I speak for myself too, we're very, very quick to say, hey, I'm paying you for this, but I'm not seeing returns. Have you been sending me the content? Have you been doing this? Have you been doing that? Oh, I'm sorry, girl, I'm so busy with the kids. You don't even have to explain yourself to me. I have kids myself. I know how that goes. But let's make sure we're on the same page. And that's what makes the situation a little complicated, because by a mean comment, you can ruin somebody's reputation. You can go ahead and try to destroy somebody's reputation because you didn't get what you wanted, but you didn't do what you wanted, what you said you were going to do. There's only so much we can do for them, right? You can only lead a horse to water. So set expectations and deliver on your commitments as a client. That's my biggest takeaway from my TED talk. That's it. I said it.
And I feel like there is, I mean, we could easily spend another 5 hours continuing on, but I know that you guys are all busy, and I know that Jane and Nadia do not want to do that either. So I just want to give Jane and Nadia one last chance to just, if there's anything else you want to share about like what you do, what we're doing in the giveaway. We're doing a Marketing Madness giveaway later today. So explain what you're sharing, and then if there's just any last burning thing that you want to share, and we will repost this in the group with the opportunity for you to ask us questions there too. So, but okay, so Jane, any last comments, thoughts?
I think, so I was always in sales. I was always in corporate sales. I knew I could sell. Like, that's what I'm good at. I know that. I love people. I love products. I love the process. But because of that, I felt like I never truly, like I was aware of my numbers, right? I didn't know my numbers. And it took a very painful journey and I felt like in a lot of ways, like the world or God or whatever was like, learn your numbers. And I did. And they'd like slap me and they'd be like, learn your numbers. And I wouldn't, they'd slap me harder. And then eventually they were like, okay, well, you're not listening. So here, and then we're just gonna give you a whole pile of shit to deal with. And then I
that
dealt
sounds
with it.
familiar.
Yeah. Just doesn't happen to any of you guys. But I think we've all gone through that in some way. But because of that, I built the spreadsheet. And because of that, I gave myself rules. And there's been weeks where I'm like, man, I really want to increase. And before, like if I wanted to increase my sales, I'd increase ads. That's just how I did it, right? I wouldn't look at anything else. But now I look at it and I'm like, okay, I know with my ads running, if my ads are running and I'm getting good clicks and my stock is good, not just overall, but in the sizes itself, then I have to look at the rest of the sheet because something is not working. And it's forced me to look at those other pieces of the triangle. Because if you're doing, and like, if I go to my ads person, I'm like, what do you need from me? And they're like, I don't know, like everything's going, like we keep adjusting, but the conversions, like we don't know what's wrong. And I can guarantee you every single time I've dug down, or like I use Management One for inventory. Best decision I think I've ever made. I've done it for the last 5 months. And before, when I would get an opportunity with Hash, which isn't like pot, but like Hash inventory. And I would just be like, I'll take it all. Right. And so I emailed her last week and I'm like, look at what I got. And she's like, okay, so we're not going to take all 9,000 pair. I'm like, no, but that's what I normally do. And she's like, and I understand that. But let's look at what normally happened last time you did that. And then you're like, oh shit. So, but it's forced me to look at the rest of my system. And even on the months when I have the same profit as I would have before, I can tell you I spend more time with my kids and I sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's not always about money. Like, you know, like you know what? It's not about money at fucking all. Like, how about it's about our life?
Yeah,
you know,
I
but
need
like,
less Botox when I stress less. That's money.
Oh my goodness!
Tell me that I'm wrong. None of you guys are going to disagree with me here.
No.
I'm like, no.
When I'm stressed out, I tell everyone I'm actually like 54, just so they think that I look good for my age.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Smarter than I look.
That's funny.
So for
No,
Jane, we are
mhm.
actually giving away one of her text and email marketing audits later today. So we'll be posting about that soon. And yeah, so do you want to mention a little bit about what that is?
Oh, that's what I was supposed to talk about, huh? Anyway, so what we do is we go through your program and you'll get a written audit, but then you also get a video audit. So we go through like on Loom and we kind of dig through it. And then, so you have a deck to refer back to. So depending on however you learn, and then also at the end of it, we do like a call for like any questions or anything that you have. And I can tell you, like, we have a ton of clients. Like, I know Nadia and I have talked about this. We're both raised Catholic. So I think we've talked about being buffet Catholic, right? Like, or I feel like there's periods, like in college, I was a buffet Catholic. There was things that I chose, like I went for the wine and then I kind of just left the rest of it. So we always joke around that we also do buffet retention marketing. So people who, Nadia is not going to be like, oh, well, I'll do your top of funnel, but you do your middle and your bottom, right? So that's something that's like unique, I think, what we're able to do. But so if you come to us and you're like, I want you to build my automations, but I'll do my campaigns. We'll help you. We'll help you to, create templates to build your campaigns, right? If you just need us for list cleaning, we'll help you with list cleaning. So going through and understanding, like, do we fit for you in some capacity? Great. Maybe there's tons of different things it could be. Do we not? That's fine. Still email us when you have questions. So I can guarantee if you try to figure it out on YouTube, you're going to end up halfway through a tutorial. The button doesn't exist you're trying to find. Then you realize it's from 2019. Or if it's like Facebook, you go through a tutorial, the button you want doesn't exist. You realize it's from Tuesday and today's Wednesday. And so that's changed. And so we go through the whole system, and then we also pretty much tell you, like, hey, here's what's going great. Here's the things that I think are like low hanging fruit. And it's like that 1% rule, right? If we can continually just improve by 1% every single week or every single day, it makes a huge difference at the end of the year. And that 1% isn't painful.
Yeah.
So we're just here to help you.
Love that. I'll have you guys post in my group later today too, with information on how to find you and follow you and like your services and stuff. So Nadia, any final thoughts? And then about your course?
Oh, yes. So the course that I'm selling right now that actually is going to come with a new community. I'm not going to do the Facebook group because it's been a little bit challenging with that, but it's basically a membership, but the course is included for the whole year. And any future updates, which is happening, like I said, daily. So anything that keeps changing,
you're going to be busy.
Right there. Oh, very busy. But so yeah, it's a massive class to learn Facebook ads, to learn how to run your own ads, and then it'll include some level of support. I also have a new program that I'm opening, and it's the first time that I talk about it, is one-on-one consulting or like coaching. And we'll go through every single little thing in your business manager. If you need email marketing, I'll refer you to Jane. If you need website support, hey, go with Angela and her girls or her team. So the biggest goal with that is that I have people that know how to do ads, but they don't know what else they're missing. So you don't know what you don't know, right? So I'll sit down with them, is 2 calls a month where we'll be talking about what you're lacking, what you can optimize, what you can improve, what you can let go, which is the biggest thing. Nobody talks about letting things go. So sometimes it's just letting go. And I'm just a one-on-one coach with them to walk them through their business and the marketing efforts to improve their revenue. And the final thoughts that I have on this is know when to start and when to quit your ads. And most importantly, know when to reinvest. It's okay if you're banking really good money, but if you want to keep growing and scale your business, you have to reinvest. I understand that you might feel resentful towards Mark Zuckerberg, like, why should I have to give him more money? It's not about that. It's to benefit your business. And if ultimately Facebook doesn't work, now we have TikTok, which for a lot of people has been successful. I still can get myself like 1,000% behind it because of the political conflict that comes into place. I'm still a little bit, but if you need support with that, I'm here to support you as well.
Love it. And we're giving away one spot in Nadia's course as well. So all of that will be posted in just about half an hour. So watch out for that.
Yeah.
And then, I'll have them post in the group with how to follow them as well. And so I know, Haley, you're the only one on here right this second. I can't believe that whole live fiasco. I am like
It happens.
But thank you guys, and thank you for staying overtime too. And I appreciate you.
Thank you
Not a
so
problem.
much.
Thank you.
Also, hi Haley. I tried to
Hello.
but, all right. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.
Yes, you guys too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Angela. Bye.